All right, Lara, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So deal type is owner financing. And what was the source?
It was a for sale by owner.
Okay. And what was the term?
48 months.
So before we dive into the next portion, give us some background. What's going on with the seller? Because I know everyone's thinking, why the heck would a seller sell you a property for 48 months on owner financing? So tell us what's going
Principal
on.
only.
Yep.
This was the seller's primary residence for a while, but past years he had rented out, and he had until the end of the month to sell it. Otherwise, he was going to have to pay capital gains on it. So I approached him. It was how dated. It definitely needed some work. And so I just had approached him about an owner financing deal and said we could close very quickly, which he couldn't do in a traditional sale unless, he were to discount it and someone were to pay cash. So that's why he was open to it.
And Laura, before we move on to that section, just because many people, especially that are not in our community, don't know you or where you come from. So could you just give maybe everyone a little bit of background, and then we'll dive back into the deal.
And I'll define capital.
Sure. So prior to joining Smart Real Estate Coach, I was a realtor I did both residential and commercial, mostly apartment buildings, and had taken some because I have 2 young children, and my husband and I relocated from California to Tennessee, and kids were starting in preschool and had some extra time and really wanted to focus on investing for ourselves. And so this program seemed like a great fit.
Love it.
And I'll just quickly talk about capital gains. When you have your personal residence, and I'm not an accountant or an attorney, when you have your personal residence, the capital gains, why she was able to fix this, and literally no one else could have fixed it this quick for the seller. Nobody. Because the rule is 2 out of the last 5 years, you have to live in that home, and you get the exclusion when you sell as your residence. If you go past 36 months being out of the home, you're now not there the last 2 out of 5 years. And he had, whatever Laura just said, weeks or days when that date was going to hit, if that deed didn't transfer, if he didn't do something. And so Laura tapped some resources her and her husband have to get this done quickly, because it's not easy with a title company, and they got it done for the guy.
From the time that we at least signed the purchase agreement, we closed in 48 hours.
It's crazy. And how much would it have cost that guy if you didn't? I forget.
I don't remember either.
It was a lot of money. You would have paying taxes. So
yeah,
just some context.
Love it. So another problem solved by these creative financing. So when somebody asks, why would somebody do it? Brian's point was there's so many reasons why they would do it. All right. What was the equity or the purchase price which you agreed upon with him?
So I bought him for $534,900.
Okay, and how does that compare to market, like say at the time? Is that a premium? Is that market? Is that below?
It was pretty close to market value. Again, the house was dated. It needed work. Structurally, everything was okay, but it wasn't very pretty. But again, I was going up a few other offers, and because I was able to get him very close to market, that was appealing to him.
Okay, awesome. And how about the purchase price? I mean, that you ended up selling it for?
I sold it for $579,000.
Okay.
Someone asked if it avoided it or delayed it. No, it avoided it. It's the one-time exclusion for your personal residence. It avoided it.
All right, so let's dive into the buyer side. Tell us a little bit of background of the buyer before we dive into the paydays, why they needed your program, kind of who they were.
So the buyer was self-employed and had he owed a lot in medicals. And so this program was perfect because he was going to be paying off all the medical bills within 6 months. So we specifically structured this to be a 36-month lease just to give him time to get that off of his report so that he could then qualify.
Awesome. Another challenge solved there. All right, so what was the deposit from this this buyer?
So it was initially 17,000.
17?
Yes.
Okay.
And he will be bringing in an additional 40,000, which is actually starting next month for two. It's like 1,000, how much extra a month?
So that consists of 1,000 extra a month. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Awesome. And what was the monthly payment that you ended up constructing with the seller?
1757.
1757. That's 100% principal only or 0% interest.
100% principal only.
Awesome. All right. So then you have your monthly
Which
payment of
is
17.
just like little nugget is that because we run across this often is people think that you can't do principal only payments, that there has to be some sort of interest tied to it, and it's not true.
No, and we posted a thing from our CPA on the Slack channel for the associates more than once. It's in there on the members channel of all the transactions you can do it at 0% interest. There are some where IRS will force imputed interest, but they're not our type of deals, frankly. So that outline is in Slack on the members channel if you haven't seen it yet or you're new to Slack.
So that 1757 is the monthly payment going directly to the seller. So what are the taxes
Yes.
and the insurance above and beyond that?
So what I did on my sheet for you guys is I put the payment from the buyer is $21.95.
Okay.
And so I end up getting a monthly cash flow of, so that 95 is before taxes and insurance. And then I end up a cash flow of 306.77 a month.
306.77.
Okay. All right. So really, so you're passing on the taxes to the buyer. You're going to have a slight insurance cost there because we're not going to pass on the insurance per se. So then you get a monthly cash flow of just over 300. So if we go ahead and times that by 36 months, what are we?
It's
What do we got?
$11,043.72.
11,043.72. All right, nice. All right, love it. Okay, and then let's drop down to payday 3. So what was the
So the
price premium?
premium is 45,000.
Okay, the principal pay down.
Is 63,052.
Okay, yeah.
This is all right. Let's sit here for a second.
That's enormous.
Let's sit here for a second. This is what makes the deal. This is what goes from, well, this is where you start getting labeled adult money.
Adult money. Big boy money.
This is how powerful these owner financing deals are. This is the power. It's right here. Because every single payment you're making to the seller is coming directly off of principal. 63,000. And was that calculated for 36 or 48 months?
That one's for 36 months.
It might be higher.
For 48,
Okay, so,
it's over 84,000.
Okay, 84,000 in principal if it goes to 48 months.
Laura, try just for a second to control your excitement level.
I was gonna ask this, Laura. Is there any way possible, do you think, that this seller is willing to go longer terms if we can reconstruct this deal?
I do, because I've established a great relationship with him. Yeah.
It's gonna be a killer.
We talk
How long
every
have
month.
you, how long has this a deal been, how long has this a deal
Words
been
hard.
established?
Take a sip of your tea.
How long has this deal been established? Like how long has the buyer been in play?
We're coming up to a year.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Now this is the time where you start having that conversation. Yeah, this is going to be a great deal. I mean, you get this thing too, and I know everyone's watching this. You get this in the 60, 72 months. You got 6 figures in just principal pay down. All right, Laura. The silent but deadly. I love it. Okay, so how much was so we're going to go ahead and subtract the original deposit, which is 40,000, or is that 57,000 all in?
57 all in.
57 all in. So your total back end cash out is
51,252.
252. Okay, total.
67.
Yep. So the total profit is 119,295.72 cents.
120 grand minimum.
Laura, please stand up and take a bow, please. This is an awesome deal. And
It's only been a year, but I have a tenant buyer too. He's been awesome.
So you got 2 great avatars, and I just want to point out, we talked about authority earlier. Laura's in authority, and her ideal avatar is for a seller is this deal, free and clear sellers.
it's just my brain's turning right now, looking at these numbers, thinking like, how do we get this thing to 200,000?
This afternoon.
Because you have your 2 ideal people in the house right now,
Yeah.
based on what you're saying. It's like, how do we now turn this into a longer term owner financing, and how do we owner finance it to this next person that's already in the house? Oh, Laura, you get a $119,000 deal, but you can bank on it. All you gotta do is one of these a year.
Austin's asking, good question, and we have time now, Zach, if you're good with it.
Yeah, let's
Why
jump
would
into
the
some
buyer
questions.
want to extend? Well, we're going to talk about this afternoon, Austin, but there's a bunch of reasons. One, depending on what the mortgage is doing then in 2 years, that could be a reason to pivot or not. Also, remember, if Laura can push this term out, which is where Zach's going, and then Laura can owner finance that gentleman, and that gentleman does not have to go get the microscope up the butt mortgage underwriting check. It's a pain. The underwriting is a lot of work. If they can avoid going to the bank and avoid underwriting and all the fees associated, they're tickled pink. That's why when we convert our tenant buyers to owner financing, which is later on this afternoon, it's huge. That's one reason. There's probably 5 more.
Ryan, can you bring the numbers back up to the screen? Thank you. Yeah, this is a great deal. Laura, as we kind of wrap this up, what's the number 1 learning lesson you had by going through this deal? Now, like hindsight view.
It's a great question. Well, I would say there was definitely some ups and downs with the buyers, and to not get discouraged. In the end, this was a great buyer, and I'm super excited that they're the ones that went across. And with the seller, patience, talking with them, spending the time. He's a little bit of a character, and I don't know, it just kind of go through the process with everything that you learn and stick with it.
Laura, full disclosure, out of your 57,000, you jumped on the closing right away. When we don't put money down, we pay the transfer tax and some of the fees. What did it cost you to close that thing, even though you had the buyer?
I think it was around 5,000 or 6,000.
Very, very, very typical. We do our sub 2s. Most of our deals cost us between 48 and 6,800 bucks. If we're gonna, When you're brand new, don't worry about that. You'll do sandwiches for now and get your cash flow going. But I just want to make sure we disclose that.
Yeah, awesome.
She
No,
also
great
gets
point.
to depreciate it though, guys. Sandwich leases, money in, money out. That's all it is. But when you take ownership, you now depreciate that asset. So for tax and other reasons, you know, you're on title.